Welcome to Men of the West, a podcast forged in the fire of history's defining moments, where we honor the valor, wisdom, and unyielding spirit of the great men who shaped our civilization. Here, we explore not only the thunder of battles, but also the pivotal events and timeless lessons that echo through the ages. With reverence, we stand in the shadow of our forebears, drawing from their triumphs and trials to lead ourselves into the future with courage and purpose. Today, we find ourselves on the icy banks of the Delaware River in the bleak midwinter of 1776, where a band of ragged patriots led by the indomitable George Washington dared to defy an empire and etch their names into the soul of Western civilization. December 25th, 1776. A bitter wind howls across the Delaware River, its waters choked with jagged ice floes that glint under a leaden sky. The American Revolution teeters on the edge of oblivion. The Continental Army, a patchwork of farmers, merchants, and idealists, is battered, hungry, and dwindling. Their boots are tattered, their bellies empty, their spirits battered by a string of crushing defeats. New York has fallen. The British, the most formidable empire the world has ever known, hold sway over the colonies with an iron grip. Their red-coated legions, disciplined and battle-hardened, are backed by the might of a navy that rules the seas and a treasury that seems inexhaustible. To the British crown, the rebellion is a mere nuisance, a squabble to be crushed beneath the heel of their global dominion. The stakes could not be higher. For the Sons of Liberty, huddled in their frost-bitten encampments, this is not merely a war for independence, but a desperate gamble for the very idea of freedom. If they fail, the dream of a nation founded on liberty will be snuffed out. The colonies will remain shackled to an empire that spans continents, their aspirations drowned in the shadow of tyranny. Across the river, in the Hessian stronghold of Trenton, lies an opportunity. A fleeting chance to strike a blow against the juggernaut of British power. But to seize it, they must cross the Delaware, a river turned treacherous by winter's wrath under cover of night in a storm that would break lesser men. This moment is more than a military maneuver. It is a crucible where the destiny of a nation, and indeed of Western civilization, will be forged. The crossing of the Delaware is a testament to the audacity of men who refuse to bow, who stake everything on the belief that liberty is worth any price. It is a story that has been immortalized in paint, in poem, in the very soul of America. Emanuel Lewitz's iconic painting, with Washington standing resolute at the helm, captures not just a moment, but a mythos, a beacon of courage that burns eternal. As night falls on Christmas Day, 1776, George Washington, the Virginia planter turned commander, gathers his 2,400 men along the river's edge. His presence is a lodestone, his resolve a fire that warms their frozen hearts. The plan is daring, almost reckless, to cross the Delaware in small boats, navigate the ice-choked waters, and march 9 miles to Trenton to surprise the Hessian garrison. The password for the night is victory or death, and it is no mere phrase, it is the truth of their mission. The crossing is a trial of endurance. Boats groan under the weight of men and cannon as oarsmen battle the current and ice. The storm rages, sleet stinging their faces, wind tearing at their ragged coats. Men slip on the frozen decks, yet they press on, driven by a fire that no winter can extinguish. Washington, ever the Titan, stands among them, his voice steady, his eyes fixed on the far shore. Hours pass. Too many. The plan to strike at dawn is jeoparding to the wind, yet they persevere, knowing that to falter is to perish. By 4 a.m., the army is across, a miracle in itself. They march through the darkness, their muskets wrapped against the snow, their feet leaving bloody prints in the frost. At Trenton, the Hessians, lulled by the holiday and their own arrogance, are unprepared. Washington's men descend like a thunderbolt. Cannon roar, muskets blaze, and the patriots charge with a fury born of desperation and defiance. The Hessians, caught in their billets, scramble to resist, but the tide of courage is unstoppable. In less than an hour, the battle is won. Nearly 1,000 Hessians are captured, their commander mortally wounded, and the Continental Army stands victorious, their first major triumph in a war that seemed lost. This is no mere skirmish. It is a clash of wills, a moment where men of iron resolve turn the tide against an empire. Washington, the stoic hero, led not with words alone, but with action, sharing the perils of his men, embodying the courage that would define a nation. His soldiers, the sons of liberty, were not born warriors. They were men who chose to be warriors, who crossed a river and stormed a stronghold because they believed in something greater than themselves. The victory at Trenton was not the end of the war, but it was the spark that rekindled the revolution. News of the triumph spread like wildfire, reigniting the faltering spirit of the colonies. Men who had despaired took up arms again. The cause of liberty, once flickering, burned anew. The crossing of the Delaware and the Battle of Trenton proved that the British Goliath could bleed, that a ragtag army of patriots could stand against the mightiest empire on earth. It set the stage for further victories, for the alliance with France, for the birth of a nation that would become a beacon of freedom. But its significance stretches far beyond 1776. The crossing of the Delaware is a cornerstone of Western civilization, a testament to the power of individual courage and collective resolve. It is a story that has been woven into the fabric of America, enshrined in Leutz's painting, celebrated in Longfellow's verse, taught to every schoolchild as a parable of daring. It reminds us that the West was not built by complacency, but by men who faced impossible odds and chose to act. It is a moment that redefined what it means to be free, to stand for principle over power, to forge a future through sacrifice. For we, the modern men of the West, the crossing of the Delaware is a clarion call. In an age of comfort and doubt, it challenges us to summon our own courage, to cross our own rivers, to face our own storms. George Washington and his men did not merely win a battle, they showed us that heroism is not the absence of fear, but the will to act despite it. They remind us that the legacy of the West is not a birthright, but a charge, a summons to live with purpose, to defend liberty, to dare greatly in the face of adversity. So let us stand, as they did, on the banks of our own challenges. Let us draw strength from their example, from the night they crossed the Delaware and changed the course of history. Let us be men of valor, men of the West, who carry their fire into the future, undaunted, unbroken, eternal.